are the end. And that's infinite reciprocity. But the opposite of that, which is where our world is skewed towards, is direct reciprocity, which is transaction. And so that at its core, as soon as you are saying, what am I getting in return? You are creating a divide, and that divide over time will manifest in all kinds of different problems. So you say, well, what are the sources of all these problems in the world? Why do we have so much violence? Is, I think, fundamentally transaction.
Yeah.
And when you do transaction, you create systems that encourage accumulation. I was at a school recently, and I asked them, how many people think it's a scary world outside? Right? And 90% of the hands went up. And I said, the world outside is saying the same thing about you. Like, why have we created this culture of extreme mistrust? Partly because that's the media cycles that are feeding us these narratives. And you say, why are they just feeding us that narrative? So yes, we all respond to fear. So that's going to get you attention, and that's going to monetize the work you're doing. But it's also going to, we have higher aspirations in us, right? We have love in us, and that can also be exercised. So you can design for the 7 deadly sins, but are you also designing for the 7 viral virtues? There is tension, there is division, there is polarity. Even in me, I have different minds that are arising at different moments. And how do I not just say, okay, I'm just an angry person? No one person is just an angry person. An angry mind has arisen, and then you may have a generous mind that arises. You may have a compassionate mind that arises. So how do you start to create a meta-narrative which is able to hold all of these in a gentle way? So Vinoba said to go from, an intervention to gentler, to gentlier, to gentliest. Whereas if you've just read about Gandhi, if you've just had intellectualized from the frame of, if your frame of reference is reaction and the narratives of reaction, you will go from an intervention, oh, that didn't work, I need to have more coercion. So if
more force,
I need more money, I need a bigger hammer, I need more power, I need a bigger microphone. And that's the thing, because what happens when you go gentler is that you are actually you are inviting yourself and the world around you, which are really mirrors of each other. You are inviting yourself to tap into an even deeper interconnection. At one level, I think anger shows that you care. So I don't think it's like an anti-anger. In general, I don't like the idea to be anti-anything. I mean, if we, like permaculture, right? Weeds are there, you use the weeds, you have to be skillful around it. Maybe you put white clover so the weeds don't spread everywhere. But fundamentally, I think you don't want to alienate, because then you're alienating parts of yourself, and that becomes problematic. So I think anger shows that you care, but it's just not a skillful way. It's not the deepest skillfulness. So he says we tend to other, and when you other and you say, this is me, you are the other. And he says when you are othering, you build barriers. And how do we move from building barriers to building bridges? And it takes to build a bridge to someone who is just like you, I think is a good start. But ultimately, to expand your frame, to realize that even you are transient, and you have so many different states and so many different beliefs. And when you see that, you realize that you are not just your body, you are not just your thoughts, you are not just your ideas and belief systems, you are not just your country. You are all of those things. Right? I am Indian, but maybe I'm universal first before I'm Indian. Right? Before I have this belief or that belief, before I have these mental states arising or that mental state. So I think anchoring in that universality and then finding skillfulness through our uniqueness. If we flip the order and unique goes before the universal, I think we get into a lot of trouble.